core values to valued culture. Here is your host, Will Scott, interviewing another CEO about leading culture in their company.
Well, listeners, welcome to another Culture's Hours interview where we talk to CEOs that care about corporate culture. We call this series From Core Values to Valued Culture, and our purpose is to help CEOs create environments where employees love where they work and why they work. My guest today is Aaron Levy, CEO and Czar of Culture at Raise Bar. Interestingly, Aaron is also an author, a brand new author of Open, Honest and Direct, a guide to unlocking your team's potential. We will definitely be asking him about that. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. Thank you for coming on the show today. And please start by telling us about Raise Bar.
Yeah, so Raise the Bar is an organization that's been, maybe 10 years in the making. But really, we opened our doors about 3 years ago. And our focus is on building better leaders. And really, the premise starts with this thing that I've seen, and it's not anything new, but I've seen, and as you share it with other people, most people start to see it too, is that in the world that we live in right now, most managers suck. And they suck not because they want to suck or because it's a choice that they suck, but they suck because they're promoted, because they're good at what they do, right? They're top performers, and not because they're good at leading people. And those are two very different skill sets. Mm-hmm. And rarely are they given the tools and the training to build the muscle that is leading people. And so Raise the Bar was kind of divined on this idea of, hey, that doesn't have to be the case. I certainly don't believe it has to be the case that leaders have to suck, because when they do, it creates not a good experience for everybody involved. And on top of it, it doesn't help the performance of the business by any means. It actually, can create this downward spiral of turnover and lack of engagement and lack of performance. And so Raise the Bar was created to do just that, to really help leaders become better managers of people. And to give them the tools and the skills and the training. And so we are very, very much focused on not, I really like this training, I really like this, but more of how are you taking action as a result of what you're doing. And so we focus a lot of our energy on deliberate practice and activities. And it's not something that you're going to finish and graduate as a habits of a leader or Raise the Bar graduate within a day. It actually takes anywhere between 3 and 6 months to kind of graduate through our boot camp trainings.
I see. So that's how your clients engage with Raise the Bar, is they send managers through like a training program?
Yeah. So more often than not, what we do is we do it internally with clients. And so we work with all of their managers at different stages. And some companies like to break it up as, hey, this is our group of first-time managers, this is our group of senior leaders, and this is our group of kind of people managers with middle-level experience. And we work with each of those individual groups to help them build their foundation within their organization of the skills it takes to lead people. Because the skills that we focus on, and they're skills and not just like, hey, follow this checklist. It's how do you show up and listen with intention and attention? How do you ask powerful questions as a means to be a more strategic, thoughtful, evaluative leader? How do you communicate openly, honestly, and directly and create psychological safety for your team and the people around you? And then the last one, and this is just in our Management 101 series, but is how do you hold critical conversations? And those are the skills that we work with clients to build as their baseline, so that everybody in the company is carrying that same toolkit. Everybody is using kind of some level of the same language. They're able to talk and work with each other, and they know what to expect of one another. And so that's what we do internally with companies. But because a lot of the companies we work with grow quite fast, and they say, hey, well, we just hired 2 more managers. Can we send them through training? What we've done is we've created a boot camp that every quarter we have our different clients send their leaders through. And it's also kind of a way for other people to kind of toe dip and see what the experience is like and come to our boot camps that we host.
Is this in-person training then, or online training? Do they come up every week? What does it look like?
Yeah, great question. So I spent a good portion of my career studying the science of why do people do what they do and what triggers habit formation and what gets someone to go from knowing to doing, because I was always fascinated about when you would roll something out to your team and make it very clean and simple and clear. Everyone said, yeah, we're going to do it. It's going to make our our lives easier and better, I would check in on them the next week and half the people were doing it. And I was always like, why is that? It's everyone agrees and that we're going to do it. And we know what to do and we know how to do it. We actually don't do it. And so my career has been spent in that area of studying behavior change, how it works, from casinos to grocery stores to behavioral economics. And I give all that as the background to your question because I'm a firm believer that soft skills like listening, like asking powerful questions, are skills that need a level of in-person work. Need a level of that in-person practice. It's like riding your bike with training wheels on. You're not going to learn how to ride a bike by watching a video or a YouTube video of how to ride a bike. That might give you some information, but it's not going to give you enough. And so our programs have elements of in-person training, but then elements of work where they have to go do it at home. They have to take the training wheels off and they have to go practice the skills in real life. And then they connect with their coach. So it's kind of a sequence of training, homework, coaching, training, homework, coaching over the course of between 3, 6, and 12 months, which really are what we try to optimize for is to optimize the number of touch points within a time period to build the neural connections that create habits.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And your company's growing and you're getting your message out.
Knock on wood. Yes, the company is growing. We've grown each year pretty considerably year over year.
Nice.
Which has been, very, very fortunate. And I think that the most interesting thing is this year more than most is we've started to find even more traction with the marketplace where they're the types of conversations we have are our clients expressing the need in which the solution we provide. So it becomes a really symbiotic relationship, and those conversations become really, really fun for somebody who never started off in sales and didn't like the idea of sales. Being an operations background, it's learning how to help other people. And if you don't get the message out there, then you don't get a chance to do that. And so that is something that I'm continually practicing, but has found to be easier and easier because there's a fit with what our clients and our potential clients are looking for their growth, their companies.
Great. Well, I had an interesting experience a few months ago when I came out with my first book, Aaron. My book, of course, is The Culture Fix, and I suspect that there's a lot of what you're doing is definitely playing into culture within an office environment. And but you've got a book yourself now, right? Which we mentioned at the introduction. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, the book was something that again I've been processing and thinking about for quite a while. And I think 2.5 years ago, I was sitting somewhere at a coffee shop in California and just remember, okay, here are all the ideas, and I put them all into the notes on my iPhone, and I started to just add different things. And I said, am I making sense? Is this crazy? Is this? And until somebody gave me the nudge and said, get your book out there. That it took 2 years to get the nudge, and as soon as I got the nudge, it took about 10 months from the nudge to when the book was out. Because
sounds about right.
Yeah, because the ideas, the concepts, the principles are the same in the book. Open, Honest, and Direct are the exact principles that we take our leaders through in our leadership training program. And so it was more a labor of kind of like transcribing a workshop. And I know you do trainings and you do workshops, and it's like transcribing what happens in those into a way that somebody else can read them, into a way that somebody who goes through our training can say, okay, what's this idea of listening blind spot, and how do we figure it out? Let me go back to chapter 4, and let me look at that, and let me go through the activities. So it's a reference for them. And also wanted it to be a tool to be able to get the message out there to people who maybe don't have the money to go through a training, or maybe are just interested and learn or get engaged by reading a book. And so it was really important to get that message and get the principles codified for people. And for us, it made our workshops and our coaches and we all got so much better at what we do as a result of having to document it.
Yes, I quite agree. The experience has been very similar for myself in terms of workshops. I have the workbooks. I can serve a certain number of clients, but with something like the Culture Fix, just get the message out to a much wider group. And in my case, it's a workbook. The back of each chapter is the exercise so that people can self-implement. And I know that, we're passionate about helping more companies have great cultures where people love where they work and why they work. And it's been a great experience since the book came out. And so anyway, congratulations and good luck with that. Now, let's just talk a bit more about Raise the Bar in terms of culture within your own company, Aaron. So how many years has Raise the Bar been in business?
So just over 3 years we've been in business for.
And at what point did you decide it was necessary to sort of define your culture? I understand you have some core values over there. And what about the process of arriving at your core values?
It was probably even before day one.
Okay.
I was, just working at other companies, consulting for other companies. I spent time doing that and understanding some of the things that were really important. Were kind of clear agreements. And I think one of my takeaways was, if you ever done like a DISC assessment or an insights assessment or an Enneagram or any of these personality assessments or workplace personality assessments, and you come out of it and you have somewhat of a common language of how I work and how somebody else works, and how can we agree to work together? And to me, that was something that, I was like, one, assessments are great for that, but you don't only need that. We just need to establish what are the rules by which we play the game of work together, and what are the ways in which we look at it. So I knew from the very start. I started the company not just to affect change in others outside and our clients, but also to affect change in the people that come through the doors and work at Raise the Bar. That's something that fills me up just as much as going out and working with clients. And so it was really important to put those into words and language that represented who I was and how I wanted to work with others around us. And not just, honestly, we use them every single day. And it's what we expect everyone who goes through our training. We ask them to actually hold those as agreements, even in an hour-long training or a 2-hour-long training or a full day or 20 hours of training, to our clients. And we look at that. And if our clients don't show that they hold those, then they're probably not going to be good clients for us anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, to one of my things, are you saying that it's important that you extend your culture defined by your core values beyond the four walls of Raise the Bar into your clients?
I can only talk from my experience. And, like my limited in the scope of all experiences out there, it's a very, very limited perspective. It's what's made every single day incredibly rewarding. And I don't like to use absolutes too much, but that's an absolute where I can walk, and no matter what's going on in the day, I can know I have clients that I truly am grateful to be working with and having fun with and going through challenges with. Doesn't mean there aren't challenges, because we share some common threads. And I've had the other happen where I've really not enjoyed and dreaded clients. And I said, I don't want that anymore. And so I really made sure to look at the start for fit. And that's helped us grow the business because, on top of people seeing me speak or reading a Forbes article or, buying the book and wanting to engage, our growth also comes from clients who continue to work with us. Right? They start working with us. They might send one person through a boot camp, and then we're doing 100 managers in their trainings in their company. And so, it just that is another source of our growth, and that is like I can look at our data and say, here are clients that grow, here are clients that don't grow. What are the differentiators between those that we grow with and those that we don't grow with? And it's usually something in the way in which we work with people and the culture that we expect, at least in the way they work with us. Right? We can't say embrace our culture with your culture. We can say, hey, in the way we work together, the expectation is that you have a beginner's mind. The expectation is that you're willing to do the next hard thing. The expectation is that you stand in your commitment, right? What is your commitment as a leader, as a founder of your organization? And we're going to hold you to that. And if you're willing to be held to that, then we're going to have some fun together and go through some great success, because that's where we succeed and thus our clients succeed.
You're absolutely speaking my language, Aaron, because I quite agree that the most effective companies are not just, the most effective CEOs are not just leading a company, they're leading a culture, which definitely means you're going outside the four walls of the organization, and you're considering, your vendors and suppliers, as well as your customers and clients, and maybe even your customers' customers or your clients' clients. So, and then you are going to have a more aligned and more successful and more purposeful business, and it's going to be a great place to work as a result of working with people that maybe don't fit your culture, where everything's hard, you know?
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself with our team, but I have so much fun with them. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that things don't work, but I sent an email that I didn't even think about the other day, which was kind of like holding someone accountable. And she picked up the phone and she called me and she said, "Hey, Aaron, can we talk?" And I was busy. And so we talked a couple of days later. She goes, "Hey, this rubbed me the wrong way. Right. You know me, I hold myself accountable. You don't need to check in on me with that." And I said,
Yeah.
"You're totally right. There's no good excuse for why I did that.
Yeah.
And I apologize. And what you can hold me accountable to is to respect you and respect your ability to get amazing work done." And she's an outstanding coach and leader in her own right. And so, but even those type of conversations I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that we get to have those back and forth. So something that happens today doesn't stew for months. It actually gets addressed right away. And to me, that is what's exciting for me, is that we're able to tackle problems in the moment when they happen.
Yeah. So is there something in your core values that empowered her, by the way, to be able to sort of have that direct conversation with you? Well, to tell us about some of your core values.
Yeah, so I'll walk through any of them and we can dive into each one of them. But I'll answer your question from the in one of them. So our core values are: one is embrace the beginner's mindset, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
I think Gino Wickman from his book Traction, but he says
Yeah.
the mind is like a parachute. It's got to be open for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people who think about growth mindset, it's all the same concept, is keeping your mind open to possibilities and new ideas. So that's the first one. The second one is do the next hard thing, which to us means get out of your comfort zone, take risks, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, but really challenge yourself. And so, what Carolina was doing was, she might have been getting out of her comfort zone, but she was taking risks and being direct.
Yeah.
The other ones are to act with authenticity and humility, which to us means be yourself. There's no mask to put on when you come to work or when you work with clients. The best type of leader you can be and the best type of teammate you can be is one that's true to yourself. And that's all we can ask. If you're being yourself, then you're succeeding here. And that means being a little humble, a little bit vulnerable, being willing to acknowledge that you're wrong. Stand in your commitment. When we talk about commitment, the language we use is commitment, but the essence of it is like, what's your purpose as a human being? Not what's your purpose for working here, not like your purpose as a human being. I'm a firm believer that if you're connected to that as an individual, then you will show up in the world in a much more powerful way. And that means you will show up in your work as a much more powerful person. And for us, we have a team of brilliant coaches, and they show up, and I know I show up much more powerfully when I stand in my commitment. And so that's what we ask everyone to do. We say, okay, if you're in doubt of which direction to go, like take a moment to reflect on like, what are you about? And usually there's an answer there in what you should do. And if that answer ends up costing us, fine. Like I can deal with that, as opposed to making a decision based out of fear of what would happen, or what would Aaron say, or what would this person say. I much prefer making a decision based out of your commitment. And the last one is have fun. And have fun has kind of a lot packed into it in the way we think about it. One of our clients said this just a beautiful way. He said, assume positive intent, right? Really, we're all the world is a big place, but life is short. And so what we ask is to realize that let's have fun together. This is our time on earth, so let's enjoy it and let's make sure we're having fun. But also that means is realize that we're all doing our best to work towards the same outcome. So in the example where Carolina called me, my guess is maybe one thing that went through her head is like, why is he micromanaging me? And another thing that probably went through her head is, I bet you he didn't even intend that, but let me let him know the impact of that.
Right.
And that to me is what we want to have, is to make sure that we all know, hey, you might do something, Will, that upsets me, and I should let you know that so that you can address and identify it, because odds are you're not trying to piss me off, to make my day worse, to make my life harder. You're probably working your best towards the same outcome that we are as a team. And so that one is quite important to me.
That's very interesting. I was talking to a company in Boston recently that is actually going through the process right now of establishing their core values. And sort of 3/4 of the way through the process, they're taking some days and weeks to kind of go through it. they came back and they actually added that as one of their core values because they just love embracing that so much. So it's funny, you should be talking about the same thing. They have a very similar core value around assuming good intent. It's a good one.
It's one of those where when we do this, so we actually, we do value work with companies just because if they don't have it, building better leaders is hard to do if you don't have a foundation of core values. And actually one of the things we focus on in our training is each leader within their group, within their team, not as the whole company, but within their team, should have a set of agreements of how we work with one another. And because each team, right, in a company, might be the finance team, and there might be the engineering team, and there might be the HR people team. Each of those have very different roles and responsibilities and different expectations for how they work together. Engineering teams kind of have scrums, and they have some rules around that and what to expect. And so what we encourage all of our leaders to do is actually set a set of agreements or ground rules with their team. And in doing that, I try and pepper it in, and we try and pepper it in and say, here's a good one. You pick your own, and you and your team pick your own. But here is one that is quite strong and usually can cross boundaries, right? If we all just assume positive intent, the world's going to be a better place.
Yeah. It's interesting how much you have talked about the importance of core values to help people know how to work together. And I often reference the US Constitution as a set of values for this country that help us know as a nation how to coexist and work together. And I had the recent example where, Facebook recently got criticized in a blog by past and current employees for basically racism or for not giving people of color the same opportunity to advance. And whether that's true or not, whenever I hear something like that, I always think, let's go check their core values. What do their core values say? And check out Facebook's core values, Aaron, because I think you'll find that they don't actually help people at Facebook know how to work together. They're kind of more about strategy and what the company's wants to achieve and the mark they want to make in the world, which is all good stuff, but it doesn't actually help the employees know how to work together. What are the ground rules? I think you used that word yourself. What are the ground rules for how we work together here? And so I actually put out a little, post about that exact thing, that the core values really should help people know how we're supposed to work together. And I just want to mention something else, that when you told me about, you went through your core values there, the last one you said was have fun. And I was hoping that was going to be a core value for you, because I heard you say several times before I asked you what your core values were, you said have fun. You want to work with people where you can have fun. You want to work with you have fun. So there you go, actually living your core values, Aaron. So nice work.
Thank you for pointing that out. Actually, it's I've been having this internal dialogue, when people, your day-to-day conversation, how's work, how's the business going, just this, the people that talk to you. And I try not to have a script line, right? Like things are going good or the weather's nice. But we can't kind of avoid that. Sometimes we give filler. And something that I've been challenging myself and saying, is this filler or is this not filler? And I keep coming back to it's not filler. Is people are like, how is work going? How are you enjoying it? I said, I'm having a blast. I have fun clients that I like to be with and I have fun with. And I know I keep repeating that on kind of a daily basis to people. And so it seems like it's not as important because it seems like it's filler. And I just keep reminding myself it's not. It's just the truth of where I'm at. And I could pick a different word for fun, but that's just semantics. And I'm actually grateful that you pointed out, hey, that is just an example of you living into your core values. So strengthening my resolve to continue telling people I'm having fun.
Yep, you're definitely naturally talking about it. So you obviously do talk about these every day. You said that. So that's one way to keep the core values alive. Are you doing anything else that helps them thrive around, encouraging employees in any way to use them? Do you have any programs or anything like that?
Yeah. So, and this is where, when I work with clients, I say this is the fun part. It's not easy, but it's fun, where you get to call people out. That's the not easy part. You call people out if they're not holding one of the values.
Yeah. Right.
And so whether it's, on a phone call or, and my team's fully remote. So on a Zoom chat like this, or in a training or after a training, letting them know, hey, this was the expectation was missed. And here's kind of the core value associates with. On the reverse side, you get to do that when someone does something awesome. When someone really embodies our core values, we share that and we talk about that, and we reinforce that to the group so that we all know that those are our core values. The other things that we do around it are, well, one reason that I put them in our trainings is so that we all are on point with them and know them.
Okay.
So it's like our facilitators know them because they're a part of what we expect out of trainings.
Yeah.
And so they have to embody it, as stewards of leadership. We actually have to show up in the way in which we want the people in the training to show up, right? It's not like telling people to stop smoking and then going out and having your smoke break, right? That it's inauthentic. And so if we're able to show up listening, asking powerful questions, and being open, honest, and direct, and having critical conversations, people learn from us just by watching what we do, on top of the learning itself. But they should be getting learning from us just by experiencing how we relate to a challenger in the room, or someone who shows up late, or someone who's on their phone or computer when it's clearly established in the agreements of the session that you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly difficult, right? We've called people out, senior leaders of I did it a couple of weeks ago, called a senior leader out, and it was clear, and it's the first time we met them, and it was, kind of one of these like, get to know this company as we explore doing more work together. And one of the leaders was on her phone, on her computer, typing away while everyone else is doing work. And I said, excuse me. And it had been a couple of minutes. I said, excuse me, can you put the computer down and away? She goes, well, I'm done with my activity portion. I said, great. But the ask is, if you're in this room, to put it away. And it's okay if you have work to do, right? You can go out and go do work, and I'm not going to judge you as a worse person, but if you need to do work, please leave the room and do it. Because even the idea of having your phone or your computer out gives you the perspective that you could do work. And it does that for everybody else. It's the same reason why having a TV, iPad, or phone in your bedroom is not great if you're having trouble sleeping, because you're tossing and turning. You realize, I could check this, I could do that. And it's not necessarily conscious. And so we want to make it easy for people to be successful. And if they're in a training together, we only have a couple hours of their whole work week or work life. So make it as impactful as possible. And we have to stand up to our values, because if we're not doing that, it's not just that person. Everyone else looks at us and says they're disingenuous. They say one thing, but they're not willing to do the next hard thing.
Yeah, well, so I often say that core values help people, step into the difficult conversation. So a lot of people perhaps wouldn't be comfortable with that challenge to somebody, hey, could you put the computer away? But when you can point to the core values, it should empower everybody to say that. You call them rules for the meeting, yes. But I love that too. And a story that, my regular listeners have heard me tell many times is one of the things that I relate to about core values is when I was building tree houses in Zambia growing up as a boy. And I always used to put rules on the, nail some rules to the side of the tree house. And when I invited my friends into them, I said, hey, thanks for being here, but while we're here, I would like us to follow these rules. And one of them would be like, be nice to each other. So as soon as folks were not being nice, I would say, hey, point towards it. We all agreed to be nice to each other. It's just a really easy way to challenge and correct without being, an asshole or without being dominating. It's just a check-in. Hey, we all agreed, And so when we bring people into our environment and we hire new people and we train them on the core values, as you clearly do, we're able to say, empower even introverts to say, hey, we all agreed, and that's what helps keep the culture thriving and keeps the environment cohesive for people and safe. You used the word safety earlier too. One of a big human need has been safe, and we can do that for folks too in the workplace using these powerful words.
Yeah, and I think we often, as we look at like Maslow's hierarchy, and you can talk about components of it that are right and not right, and I think we've extrapolated probably too much from the hierarchy as like how humans live and survive, just like we've extrapolated too much from survival of the fittest. Right? There's a whole book on what he talks about, but we just take this phrase survival of the fittest, and so we could take more into that, but really, the component of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where safety is one of those core things. Yep. What we don't often talk about is we say, okay, safety, like you need to be able to have a roof over your head and not feel like you're in danger of dying, right? But in the world we live in today, the safety is not just physical. It's also psychological.
Yeah.
It's like, do you feel like you're like
And
you can
emotional.
speak up and emotional,
Yeah.
and not get made fun of or
Yeah.
abused or hurt or chewed out by your boss. And more and more I see that as people laugh at me in the workplace when I say, yeah, your boss yelled at you. Like, that doesn't happen as much, raising your voice and yelling, thankfully. However, I do hear it and see it. And actually was just talking to a friend who like had it happen in his workplace. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, it still does happen. And that just demolishes safety and psychological safety and emotional safety.
Yes, absolutely. So having a core value like assume good intent is a good way when somebody says to not, raise your voice or put them down for that, whatever they've expressed. So as we kind of come towards a close here, Aaron, and gosh, that feels like we could keep talking
Yeah.
for hours about this. But do you have a favorite story that elevates one of your core values, or something that happened in the company that's now folklore that kind of demonstrates one of your values?
I have something from the previous company that I was at. We were a startup, and I've told the story a few times, but it's one that's just ever present in my mind right now,
Yeah.
from client conversations and what's happening in my world is, we were a startup. I kind of assumed the director of operations role and the director of education role, and kind of had a seat at the table with where we are as a business. And it was a coaching and education business, and we saw our coaches as these like prized possessions. And so what we wanted to make sure to do was to make their work, make it so they could do the best work possible, right? Great in concept, but the way in which we enacted that was oftentimes we held what was going on in the business, the ups, the downs, the worries about client continuation, those type of things, to ourselves, and put on this like positive spin of the way work was going. And there came a day where we actually had to let go of 15% of our staff. And it was because of a lot of factors. One of the main factors was I miscalculated. I misjudged how our growth was going to happen and what our capacity needs were for the current client workload. I missed it and
Yeah.
wasn't really sure. We weren't really sure how to address it as a team. And our new COO had just come on board, and he said, uh, we need to just be real and honest and direct and vulnerable and share what's actually happening. And I was definitely scared that we'd lose employees as a result of it, that
Yeah.
people who wouldn't be okay with this uncertainty of where we are as a business, right? Because having to communicate layoffs says something else. And I mean, I just distinctly remember sitting there as a Friday meeting, and we all sit down in the big conference room. We all get together and we do some positive psychology stuff and share, right, all these beautiful things. And that space to have to share something like this, which we really hadn't done in the past, it took being just authentic, and it took being humble. And what I mean by humble, it's somewhat vulnerable, is being able to realize to say like, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
we made a mistake, and we thought we knew what we were doing, and we made a mistake. And we have some ways in which we can grow and get past this. But like kind of just like laying it out on the table, as opposed to like holding this stance of like, we got it taken care of. And for me personally, that it just was freeing. And
yeah.
I didn't want anybody else to put that mask on when they worked with me. And so that's, maybe I'm not even aware of how that, inspired the act of authenticity and humility, but that, I think that's probably part of the genesis of it.
Great. I love how when there's a good story behind behind a core value, that helps make it folklore for the company. And again, just tell us, where can we get your book, Aaron? Where can we learn more about Raise the Bar?
Yeah, so you can get the book at kind of like anywhere books are sold. Amazon, obviously, on Kindle. You can go to barnesandnoble.com and get it there as well, or Google, or really just type in "open, honest, and direct" into the Google search bar, and it should pop up.
Okay.
But you can get in touch with us at raisebar.co or openhonestanddirect.com. That's where we have like all of the workbooks, all the activities. You can do activities online and interact with them online, and see the book and download the first chapter if you don't want to pay for it, and reach out to me.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. And likewise with Culture Czars listeners, again, you can find out more about us at culturezars.com. Pick up a copy of The Culture Fix, From Core Values to Value Culture with 9 Deeds in 90 Days. That's also available on Amazon. And Aaron, listen, it's been such a pleasure. And thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. and look for it to be published soon. And good luck.
Well, thank you so much, Will. This was a really fun conversation.
Cheers. Well, 2020 is around the corner, new year, new decade, and we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of people out there that still need better cultures and better ways of being open, honest, and direct in the workplace. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at culturezars.com, and we'll see you next time.